Hey folks, support for today's show comes from Squarespace. Whether you need a portfolio to showcase your work, a store to sell your products and services, or a blog to share your ideas, Squarespace gives you everything you need to make your next move into a reality. With Squarespace's beautifully designed templates and customizable features, you can create a great website with a simple and intuitive process. Simply add and arrange your content with the click of a mouse. Start your free trial today at squarespace.com and enter offer code WTF to get 10% off your first purchase. All right? All right. You do that and I'll do this. Well, you do this too. The show, that is.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what the fuck nicks? What's happening? I'm Marc Maron. This is my podcast, WTF. Welcome to it. How's it going? All right, look, before I get into anything, I need to do some self-promoting. My new special, my stand-up special on Netflix, Too Real, that's what it's called, premieres tomorrow, September 5th, on Netflix. You can go add it to your queue right now so you can stream it as soon as it's available. I'm very proud of this. It looks good. It's tight. It really is a good-looking special. Lynn Shelton did an amazing job with the direction. And all the people, I want to thank the people of Minneapolis again. But proud of it. So, yeah, tomorrow, Too Real, my new Netflix special, will be available. Dig it. Did I mention today on the show I have a comedy writer and comedian. He was more of a comedian back when I knew him. Now he's more of a comedy writer, Warren Hutcherson, who I started with, who I've been wanting to talk to for a while because he was really a funny guy. And we had not talked in probably 10, 15 years, 20 years. What's happening? Is it hot? Is it hot where you are? Is it hot and horrible? It's hot as fuck here. But it's weird in these end times to sometimes take a minute to just appreciate the relentlessness of the fucking weather. I'm a little weird. I enjoy a bit of desert heat sometimes. Though it's a little bit much here. We're not quite in the desert, but LA is kind of a desert. But I kind of like it, man. I kind of like 104-degree temperatures. Because given that I don't do any drugs and I don't partake, there's something about that feeling of being baked. You walk outside and you're like immediately dehydrated and everything slows down. You can feel your heart slowing down. Sweat doesn't even have time to build up before it evaporates. And it's kind of, it's a bit mind-altering. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way. A lot of people here, they complain about the heat constantly. It does get hot here during the summer months. I guess it has been a little relentless weather-wise. I guess really what I'm doing is kind of rationalizing the fact that every fucking day seems like either the beginning or the middle or maybe close to the end of the world ending. That's the way my brain puts it all together. Why not connect the dots? There's no reason not to connect the dots. You can connect the global warming dots. You can connect the nuclear Armageddon dots. You can connect the biblical end time dots. It's great that this president facilitates this portal to connect all the end time dots every day. Out here, the LA's partially on fire. That's the other thing. The fires are here. I'm not even sure how close they are to my house. They're kind of close, but there are people here in LA literally just going on their roofs to watch the city burn. They're watching it burn. I don't know if we're going to have to evacuate. I think it's still far off from here. I don't think, I don't know at this point how many homes have been swallowed by flames, but it's fire season in LA, and that's just something we've grown to accept. It's hot, and it's fire season. But that's the positive spin. The other spin is like, oh, this is it. The facilitator has arrived. Satan's minion has come, and the evangelicals are working with him. It's time to follow the instructions of the last book. Here it comes. We just need to clear that Temple Mount and get that ready for the re-arrival of the Great One, and he will lift us all up right in time for the brush fires to just totally engulf Maron's house. That's actually in Revelations. We will be lifted off just in time for the brush fire to engulf Maron's house. Maybe I'm personalizing it. I don't know. Maybe. I got to look at it again. I haven't checked in with the cryptic poetry of the final chapter of the instruction book for how to get to heaven. But perhaps I shall. Maybe I'm not mentioned. We're sponsored today by Audible. Audible has so much stuff for your ears, it's absurd. They have an unmatched selection of audiobooks plus original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, and business information providers. The audiobooks you get with Audible, you own them. You own them. That means you can access them anytime, anywhere from almost any device, including your iPhone, iPad, Android, Amazon Fire tablets, or Windows Phone. Audible has the Great Listen Guarantee, where you can swap a book you don't like for a new one. Not to mention Audible Channels gives you a collection of exclusive originals, short stories, and comedy, so you always have something new to listen to. Let's go to Audible and look up something. Let's look up End Times. Let's try that. That's probably not. They probably don't have anything there. Ooh, they do. End Times Prophecy. Let's do that. Nostradamus and the End Times Prophecies of the Apocalypse. That's available. That's an audiobook. That sounds like something fun for your run. The Book and Prophecies of Daniel, End Times Prophecies. Don't know what that is, but a guy named Mr. Henry Harrison Epps Jr. Reads it. End Time Bible Prophecy, a powerful reason to believe in God. Future events revealed in advance. That's what you need. I think we're living them. But sure, why not? Sounds like another good Stairmaster. Listen. The End Times, what happens next? 7 foundational warnings from End Times Bible Prophecy. All these, again, Audible. Great ideas for relaxing in the car, being on the treadmill, whatever you do. Get a free audiobook with a 30-day trial at audible.com/WTF. That's audible.com/WTF for a free audiobook with your 30-day trial. I'm not trying to be morose, people. I'm not trying to be depressed. I'm trying to have a good time. I'm trying to sort of like not get hung up on dark futures or lack thereof, and try to be in the present and enjoy myself. And, I know what you're wondering. I know what you're asking yourself. Mark, how's it going without the nicotine? Did you fucking go back? Did you go back to it? Did you give in to the charm of the need and darkness and perverse, malignant desire that is compulsive addiction? Did you give in to it? Nope, I did not. I have not. I did not. I'm still a little itchy. Got the soul itch. Got the skin skeeves. But not too bad. Not too bad. It's more of a mental thing now. I guess it's been, what has it been, about a week? Solid week and a day, maybe a week and a day. The physical need for caffeine and nicotine has passed, and I'm feeling better. My guts are working better. My brain feels better. My energy is better, if you call mania having more energy. So right now I'm just kind of focusing on rebuilding my gut bugs. That's my new project. I'm doing a gut bug project. It's just that when you eat the nicotine, you drink all that caffeine. Caffeine's a diuretic. It also is a pooperetic. And the nicotine lozenges are made with one of the talls, the mannitols or the sorbitols, as a laxative effect to some degree. So your guts are kind of fucked up from both of those things. So I've been probioticing by eating kimchi and various krauts with the occasional probiotic shot of 450 billion acidophilus monsters. But then, like, now I'm kind of got this brain thing going on about my guts that Amanda, the lady who trains me, she told me that there's a prebiotic. So now, like, after I got off the nicotine, I just dumped a bunch of those good probiotic bacterial monsters into my guts, because that's supposed to be healthy. But apparently they need to be fed. And what they like to be fed is cooked yams that aren't hot and jicama and some asparagus. So I've been focusing on feeding the new bugs in my intestines the stuff they like. And that's how I'm occupying my time post nicotine. Just concerned about the kind of living environment of my insides. That's the new project. My gut bugs feel good, and apparently if you got your gut bugs in check, the rest of it falls into place. That's the theory. That's the theory. I don't know. Support for today's show comes from Squarespace, and let's face it, if you have a big idea you want to execute, you can't do much without an online presence. So if you're starting up a business or you want to showcase your work or whatever it is you're planning to do, make sure you have an eye-catching platform to bring it to life, right? And that's where Squarespace comes in. Squarespace gives you everything you need to look like an expert right from the start. You can even get a unique domain so you can be out there in the world in the exact way you want people to see you. Plus, with Squarespace's award-winning templates, creating a beautiful website is a simple and intuitive process. You can add and arrange your content and features with the click of a mouse, and there's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. If you ever have a question, Squarespace's award-winning customer support can help you with any problem at any time of the day, any day of the week. So make your next move and start your free trial at squarespace.com today. Enter offer code WTF to get 10% off your first purchase. Again, that's squarespace.com. Enter code WTF. Right? Warren Hutcherson is here. We talked for a bit. Like I said, I haven't seen him in a long time. He used to have this great jokes about his dad and about being black and about things. I hadn't seen. I always had a lot of respect from his comic, and I know he went on to be on the writing staff of the Bernie Mac show and other stuff. And I don't know, things just came around, and we were able to make it happen. I talked to I think his wife reached out to me, and I emailed her, and then she contacted him. Yeah. I mean, in the house. I mean, I think just down the hall. But nonetheless, let's talk to Warren Hutcherson now about stuff. So, Warren, I don't think I've seen you in a decade. Is that possible?
I think it's maybe 2 decades. When you think about it.
Maybe we ran into each other here or there quick. You know, like once or twice.
Right.
But, back in the day, I see you all the time.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah. I've known you a long time. Always liked you. Always liked your stand-up. And, I remember at some point you were one of the first guys that I realized, I guess he's just writing now.
Yeah.
There was I used to love the bits, and then all of a sudden it's like, Warren got a job writing. And I'm like, is that something we can do? Because I don't want to do that.
Don't blame you. I know it. You know what? Because, and I think this is the thing that you realize, either you are committing the slowest suicide in the world.
Yeah.
Or you found the other way. You found like, you know what? I was working too hard at something else, and now I got this. But I know now, and part of me even being here, part of me when I said,
I think it's a practical decision. I'm not condescending it at all.
No, it's, but that's the thing. That's the slow suicide of it.
Right.
Once you decide, I think, this is my philosophy.
Right.
Once you decide to do stand-up, and once you do it, and then you become good at it, and you start thinking, I think I can define myself as a stand-up.
Right.
Then you sort of slide into the writing. There's a new definition. You got to sit down and go, okay, there's a new definition now. Now, not that you can't
for myself.
Not that you can't be a stand-up and a writer.
Right.
But to be just a writer now, which is a lot of stand-ups. You go, oh, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I'm writing this, I'm writing that. And then the stage thing is gone.
But as you get older, and even as, before you get older, I mean, there's fewer and fewer stand-ups that are going to be like, you pussy. Well, you know what I mean? Unless you have that guy inside of you.
Yeah, well, that guy is definitely inside of me, and pussy is a charitable way. The things that I hear from that guy, I would love it. I'm like, can you just stay at pussy? You are really...
He's creative, huh?
Can I just... Yeah. Well, he's creative. What is he's consistent, because I'm letting down everybody.
By not doing any stand-up or a lot of things?
I'm destroying the race.
Oh, yeah.
I'm destroying myself.
By being a writer?
I'm letting my family down. It's just all kinds of stuff.
He's very active, huh? He's on stage a lot, that guy.
That guy.
In your head.
Well, that's the thing. It's like when I was on stage, he could calm down and just go, these people, whatever.
He had a voice.
Yeah, but now he's like, oh, it's just me in here. Oh, okay, you cool with it. And this is what you want then, right? You just want me to fuck with you because you ain't even going out and doing nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good question, though. Do you want it? Like, when you have those kind of feelings about yourself and those kind of patterns in yourself. I was just talking about this to my brother the other day, yesterday. Where it's sort of like, you circle around, you end up in the same place emotionally, psychologically, right. Where you're beating the shit out of yourself. And after a certain point, you're like, well, some part of you is comfortable here.
Right, exactly.
It's not healthy. It's not good. It doesn't lead to a good place, but something in you is used to it.
But you're good here.
Yeah.
So what are you bitching about? Just shut up and be here.
But that's it, the acceptance thing.
And that's the thing. It's like in your heart that acceptance is the right place to be. But then it's like, what am I accepting, though?
Yeah.
Am I accepting the best of myself, or have I given up?
So you just take it to another level. Like, okay, I get it, but, it's still shitty. It's still shit.
And it's like, well, I feel like, look, I'll say this. Maybe this is a comparison that's fair, maybe it's not. I just did the thing. I'm 54. I think we're both 54.
I'm 53. 54 September.
And I'm 54 in October. But I'm the kind of person who just says 54. I'm just jumping ahead.
Yeah, I'm 60, man. No, you're not.
I'm 78.
I'm 53, but it's coming if I'm lucky.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, so I'm 53, 54 in October. I just did my colonoscopy because, you got to do that.
I did it last year or 2 years ago. I did it.
And so, first of all, I got the number. Like, here's the deal. Like, my doctors, in my regular doctor's office, there's a guy who does it.
Oh, really? You didn't have to go?
No.
I went to some weird sort of like place that doctors use.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, we went to a place.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, like I didn't have to go find a doctor who does it.
Right.
The doctor was right over there. It's just like I said to him, I'm actually 51. I said, I'm 51 now. And I know that at 50, I'm supposed to do that. Everybody says do this thing. And he goes, oh, yeah, you're 51, sure. You want me to recommend somebody? And I said, yeah, please. And he goes, there's this guy next door, which immediately you go, is that a real recommendation or are you just helping out your sweet mate?
Right.
And then, like I said, I just did it. I just did it like 3 months ago. So that means
you put it off.
It took me, that long to get.
Well, what was it? You didn't want to see the results? You didn't want to have something in your ass?
Results.
Oh, okay.
I didn't. It was probably both. But it was more the results. And then when I got the results, when he says, I got the paper and he says, yeah, you're good for another 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
I said, immediately, I was like, 10 years? Fuck, that guy's going to be retired because he's an old guy.
Oh, right.
I'm already coming up in my brain with why 10 years is a bad thing.
Right.
As opposed to I'm clean for 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and I'm saying like in what we were talking about, like I don't know if I should go, can you just be satisfied with where you are right now and not be so worried about 10 years from now? Or is it legitimate? And I feel like in this case, it's a case by case basis. In this case,
well, yeah, I mean, that's a weird way to go with it. You know what I mean? Right. In the sense that, like, I know people like that. I'm very anxious in the moment. But I think when they told me I had, I didn't have 8 to 10 years, I'm good. Well, I thought, see, what I do is that's off the list. Let's check out the liver. How's which of the other organs are going to go?
Something else could happen.
That's right. That one's good for now. That part of me is operating fine. But let's do the prostate again. Let's figure out what's up with that.
Yeah, that was. I might get into that, but I get more arrogant about it because I feel like hey man, my ass is clean.
Yeah.
Liver, prostate, they better be clean.
Yeah, right.
Because then I'm going to be like, that guy in my head will be like, what's up with you, prostate?
Yeah.
The ass is clean, but look at you. You got to grab onto some cancer, you stupid ass. Thank you, Mr. Asshole.
Right, right.
I'm sorry, how far can I?
You can go.
I can say whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
But you grew up with it, because I remember the early bits and the defining bits and the fact that you're still thinking about this stuff, without a release valve.
Yeah.
Must be a little hard to handle. I mean, that must be a source of some of your self-criticism that, at the beginning when you were doing jokes about your father and your grandmother and the unique sort of set of circumstances that you grew up in ideologically.
Right.
At least you had that release valve. So now you're kind of festering
Well, yeah, no, I mean, yes, you're right, and then it's deeper than that. What I realized is my release valve was of some fakeration.
Fakeration.
Some fakery. I was not being as honest as I could be.
Well, I mean, you're doing comedy, you know, and you know, you kind of, you know, you could progress to that.
Yeah, yeah, and I know, and I think that's why comedy became my thing, and that's why, like I'm saying, I'm torn between comedy and history, and maybe I'm not torn. Maybe I'll figure out how to weave it all together.
Well, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Baltimore.
Right.
I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. Sorry, just for your listeners, I grew up in Baltimore City. So anybody who goes, "Oh, I grew up in Baltimore," and then they say, "Yeah, Pikesville or Reisterstown," these are all little areas around Baltimore. No.
Yeah.
Baltimore City.
And that means something.
It totally means something.
My point of reference is The Wire.
That's The Wire is, for the most part, about the part of Baltimore City I grew up in.
And like, how big was the family?
My family was pretty big, I think. I'll put it like this. My mom had 3 older brothers, and my dad had 3, surviving. He had 3 siblings. He had 2 older brothers and an older sister.
Yeah.
So both were the babies of the family.
Right.
But there were 3 siblings.
And everybody was around?
Everybody, my mom's oldest brother, Uncle Everett, was a crazy vet. He was Army, Vietnam. He died in Vietnam.
He did?
Yeah, it's weird to say died. He killed. He was killed in Vietnam. I mean, you know, he expired over there. Dude, and he as I remember, you know, I mean, you're dealing with the kids' memories. Right. But I remember he was really a good uncle, and he was really nice and crazy, which is what you want sometimes from a good uncle.
You got to know him between tours or before he went?
Yeah, he'd come home between tours, and then, I mean, I'm sure I knew him before he went, but I was really little. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But me and my cousin, his son,
Yeah.
my cousin Everett, we both lived with my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, for a while. And so, yeah, and we lived in the room. I mean, it was public housing, and there were only 2 bedrooms. And so at one point, I mean, we were all in the same room, and then my grandmother, because this is who she is, and she just moved downstairs. It was like this huge staircase. She just basically made the couch. That was her room.
And
the living room was her room.
You and your cousin lived upstairs?
Me and my cousin lived in one room, and then the other room was like when my Uncle Everett came home, and sometimes Uncle Richard and Uncle William.
And where was your mom?
Where she was gone. My mother and my grandmother had a really contentious relationship.
Yeah. My
mother had a contentious relationship with a lot of people, but my mother is a very loving person, and there's so much about her that I know there's so much about me that she's responsible for.
She's still around?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
But the thing I guess that really kills me is like when she talks about her mother, my grandmother, they're so alike. They're so the same person that I hope like someday before she expires, she sees that.
Oh,
she sees that you are the daughter of this woman who was fighting the things that you were fighting, except she was fighting them 20 years. You know, she was fighting them before you.
Yeah. It's weird that blindsiding people. You know, like the parent you fight the most is probably the one you're the most like.
Totally like that. Yeah, and I see that. I see it with my friends. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
And my mom, because my mom talks about like sometimes when there's like 4 or 5 like consistent stories that my mother tells.
Yeah.
And one of them is about when she got put out. Like her mom just said, "Get out. I don't want you here. Get out of the house." And she said, and I was outside and I was at court and I was crying and I was begging. I was just begging her, please let me back in, please. And she said, no. It's like, and one thing, because I used to live with her, like it was clear. My grandmother had a line. She was an iron rod. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
I have declared, I've made the statement, and that's it. It's not changing.
Right.
And so my mother was like, she talks about how terrible she felt and how humbled she felt and abandoned. And she was. I mean, your mother says, get out of my house. I don't care where you go. I don't care what happens to you.
What was the reason?
There's never been a very clear, you know what I'm saying? When you tell that story, it's never like, oh, and this is because I had done this, which means to me, when, people tell stories, you go, so you did something.
Yeah,
There's something that even now you go,
that's the missing part.
Yeah. It's like, somehow this was your fault.
Right.
But
you had it coming.
Yeah, well, that part I wouldn't go that far.
Right.
But you should have known.
Right.
You knew you were dealing with.
Right, yeah.
And so this happened. Now, at the same time, when I was, I think 17, certainly after school. Yeah. And my mother had this whole idea of how I was going to live my life and be this different.
After high school?
Person, after high school and after, like, I joined the Marines. And then she was like, that's not happening. Because I was 17 when I graduated. And so, you got to get a parent. You go and the recruiter's like, okay, sure.
Just take this home and get your mom to sign it?
And she's like, that ain't happening. I've seen, and part of it was like, I've seen what they did to my brother. Yeah. Both my oldest, Uncle Everett, died in Vietnam. Yeah. Uncle Everett was Army. Uncle William was Marines. Right. And the Marines were so impressed with him, and it was the 60s, and there was a whole need for Negro officers that they sent him to Annapolis. They were like, you know what? We want you to become an officer.
To the academy?
We're okay with you as an officer. Yeah. So they send him to the academy, and then he goes back as a captain. But like kind of around the time the war's over, so then the war's over. And so like I grew up around him, and I admired him a lot. You know, there's a lot of stuff about him I didn't like that much, but I had a real admiration for him as a man. And this is the thing, you grow up, and that was why I think this started with you talking about my act and my dad. A lot of my talk of my dad is an amalgamation of a lot of stuff.
Is he a real person? My
dad is a real person. The things that my dad did that truly influenced me are things that I still kind of work with on an a quieter basis. Because, the dad I talked about on stage is very much in your face and loud. That's that voice in my head that I kind of give him credit for. But I think my dad was... wanted to be a lot of things. Like I think that my dad, if you were around, would be. It's emotional. Sorry, it's weird. That was a weird thing. I was going to say I think he would be proud of me, and I never really thought of that because I think that what I did, what I was doing when I was doing stand-up, I think he would have really been like somebody to brag about that.
And he wasn't around already?
No, my dad died. My dad's story in my world is pure comedy. Some of it horribly funny. I think comedy. My dad. No, can I tell you a few things about my dad? Is on the WTF podcast, the F being father. Yeah. I remember early on, like my mom used to date this guy. Clinton. Yeah. And this guy taught me how to play chess. Right. All right. And I didn't like this guy. But at the time, I didn't like him. Yeah.
How old were you?
Around 9 or 10. Yeah. The deal was Clinton taught me to play chess. Yeah. And one day my dad said he saw there was a chessboard at that house. Yeah. And he said, I didn't know you know how to play. And I said, yeah, sure. So he said, let's play. So we started to play a game of chess. And he's awful.
Yeah.
So, like, I was like, all right, well, if that's the move you're going to make. But then it got to a point, I think like a few moves in that I thought, I don't want to beat him. I don't want to beat my dad. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So I just stopped. I was like, oh, okay. And I started making like stupid moves.
Right.
And then he won. And he was like, yeah. He said, well, I can help you out. Like, teach you a few things. And I said, yeah. Okay.
So that was the dynamic.
That was kind of the thing. Like, it was like, I'm protecting him and but he's a good guy. Like, so here's the thing, like later on, once my dad came to me, this stuck with me for years. He came to me, he said, you got $2. And I did.
Yeah.
He said, I need $2. He said, I just need $2.
Yeah.
I got this 50, but I don't need to be out here in these streets with this $50 bill.
Right.
But I could use two $1 bills. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the 50. You hold on to that. You give me the $2. I'm going to be back in about an hour and a half. If I don't come back, if I'm not a man of my word, if I don't come back here in an hour and a half, you keep that $50 bill.
Right.
Because you got to be a man of your word.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good deal, right?
Yeah.
So I give him the $2. And I didn't even think about it, I guess, until like maybe an hour.
Yeah.
Like an hour into it, I'm looking out the window. I'm rubbing my hands together. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm about to come up with $50.
Yeah.
And then he came back. He came back within the time limit.
Yeah.
And he gave me my $2 back. And I gave him his $50 back. But then for years, I was like, my dad is so, there's a lot of integrity. That was so on. My dad's an honest guy. You know what I mean? It's like, he gave me $50 that I could have if he didn't stick to his word.
Right.
I think I was probably in my mid 40s before I thought, really? Do you really think that your dad would have let you keep that $50?
Right.
Like if he'd have come back like 2 hours later and said, hey man, listen.
Yeah.
I tell you what I'll do. I'll give you $3 back.
Yeah.
But you're going to give me my money.
Right.
But I don't really ever know. He might be, because there's times with me, like I take a very hard line about, you know what? No, I said it was going to be this way. And so, but I think some of that is because I'm still clinging to that like childhood thing. Like that's what I always remembered about him. And so, we catch up and we made some things. I said, I got to start exercising. I used to be a real scrawny kid. I said, I need to bulk up a little bit, And so, he would send me exercises he's found, like, and just stuff. Hey man, good to talk to you. Good to see you.
Right.
Like 6 months later, I get this call. He's in the VA. He's sick. He's got cancer. He's dying.
Yeah.
He's almost dead.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? That never came up. Never came up.
He knew?
He must have known. It's like 6 months. Come on. And, like for me, thinking back at it, it was like, because the call was so out of the blue. So now it's like, okay. So like he gets this diagnosis and it's like, let me try to tie up some loose ends. He's got this kid. Let me go talk to him. And so, I was just like, what? Okay. My uncle, his brother calls me and says, yeah, your daddy, you going to go see him? And I go, yeah. So I go to the VA. And I was a little pissed, cause I'm like, what, why? When you could have talked about this, but I'm in my head, I'm back and forth. Like, I guess he didn't know. Why talk about this thing that's bothering him? And he wants to know what's up with me. And I guess he wants to know that I'm going to continue my journey and be okay. And I go and they let me in, and it's intensive care. So it's only a few people allowed in at the time. And this nurse lets me in. And I go in, and like I said, I got all that in my head. And I'm looking, this guy is being ravaged. So I know he knew he had this. Now it's like, look at it, it's so thin and weird. And I was like, I don't know what to say to you, man. I'm like, and he's not conscious, really. I said, I'm kind of mad, but I don't want to be mad because I want you to know that you know, and then the nurse taps me on my shoulder and just pissed me. I said, what? She goes, Hutcherson? And I go, yeah. She goes, that's over there.
Come on.
I swear to God.
The wrong guy?
I was talking to the wrong, so then I go over here. But it's the same thing. When I go over to the bed that she pointed me to, I'm
Same
still
condition?
like...
No, he's out of
He's
it.
unconscious and unrecognizable. It's still like...
Right. Yeah.
I was still like, okay... Yeah, I can't even work myself up to what happened over there.
Yeah.
I just go.
You had a dry run. You had a rehearsal.
And then, but that rehearsal was it. That's all that was in me. I was like, you know, I said, man, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know if you can even hear me. And I'm looking at the, you know, there's the heart monitor,
thing,
the beep. Like, is there anything that's going to show that there's a hint of recognition to the fact that I'm even here? And I'm like, no. I don't think so, you know.
Yeah.
And I kind of patted his hand, and I said, well, I came by, you know, I'm going to come by again. And I left, you know, and I think like 2 days later, that same uncle called me up, and we have issues. I mean, we had issues. We're very cool now. Yeah. But because this is what he does. He calls me up. You know your daddy dead now, right? Like, okay. No, I didn't know that. Yeah. He just did. They just passed away, and I guess the hospital had his number.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it had just happened, and he was like, "Yeah, well, that's over." So the deal is, and where the dad on stage came from. So then I get this call. Basically, they're like, "Well, you're 18 now." This is March, actually. I just turned 18 in October. So now it's March, and you're the executor of your dad's estate. You have to bury him. You have to take care of all of these things.
Yeah.
So, you know, I called my friends who all had dads except for one who I think didn't. Well, I mean, everybody obviously has a dad. But,
right.
You know, that didn't know his dad. And they were, you know, consoling, but they didn't really get it. Because then there was a whole thing of like, dude, you never talked about your dad before. I go, yeah. They're like, so are you worried? Are you upset? I was like, yeah, I guess. I don't know. You know, when the one group, I had like 3 friends who kind of took me out drinking. So we got like, and we had the worst shit. We had like Thunderbird,
right,
and Jack Daniels, and we kind of hung out in it's actually a graveyard, which is ridiculous. And I drank. I basically drank all night, but felt nothing.
Yeah.
You know, like I didn't remember feeling drunk, and I totally remember like that night, and then the next day, because the next day I went to get my uncles, and I was driving around. Yeah. And they were like, "You were drinking last night?" And I said, "Yeah, I was." And they were like,
"Why do you think that?
You're pretty steady."
Yeah.
I mean, I guess on some emotional, I was trying to anesthetize that feeling that I did. Just like, I don't even know what this feeling is, but it's wrong. You know,
it wasn't grief. It was just sort of like it didn't have an effect that you thought it should.
Yeah. You know, I remember years ago I went to see a guy who talked about Vietnam.
Yeah.
He said that he worked in he sorted body parts.
Right.
Said this is where I worked in like whatever the field hospital where I had to identify this body part goes with this. And he said I drank 2 pints of Jack Daniels every day. Every day. He said, I just drank that to get through it. He said, and there's nobody that can tell you that they ever saw me drunk. It was like just that is what I needed to deal with what I was doing.
Right.
And I think that drinking on that night was what I needed just to deal with this thing. Like all these, we're never going to have a discussion.
Right.
There's a million things that are never going to happen.
Right.
For me and my dad.
Yeah.
And I guess I had always sort of stuffed that away because he existed and I knew where he was.
Right.
And it was like, well, at some point we'll have a relationship, but now that's not the case.
Right.
So yeah, that's
an ordeal.
The extent.
So when did you start doing comedy?
I started doing comedy. I was 22. I started writing comedy. What happened was I was in. This is another. I don't know. Maybe it was my dad. Maybe somebody. Basically, we didn't believe in loans. I don't believe in loans. So to go to college, you gotta work.
Yeah.
Or live on some saved money.
Right.
And so. And I didn't even want to go. I was like, I don't see the point of this. I struggled for the last year of high school, not academically, but just like, what is this about? But anyway, at the Community College of Baltimore, I met a guy who wanted to do comedy. He wanted to be partners.
Yeah.
I had no interest anymore in hard news, solid things. I was all about features. I was a feature writer for the college newspaper.
So you'd be a reporter?
No, I was actually in school for nursing. I was going to be a nurse.
And then, did your mother put you out already?
Yeah, she had. I was out. Yeah.
Was that a hostile thing, or
it was totally hostile? It was absolutely hostile. She was mad. I mean,
what was she mad about?
She was mad that I wasn't living, which I think was the exact same thing with her mother. It's like I had a notion of what you would be like as an adult or as a young adult, and you're not living up to it. It was just like I didn't, like I said, I wasn't really interested in the college thing. I had a job. I got a job immediately out of high school, and but I was unfocused.
Right.
And she was like, focus.
Yeah.
You got to focus, and the way out of this is college.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not so sure college is for me, and the way out of this isn't so bad. You know, which parents hate. you know, this is okay. We're all right. We're not okay. For a living?
Yeah.
I worked in a pharmacy. I had started as just a clerk, but then the guy trained me, so I was the pharmacy tech.
Okay. But that wasn't your future.
No, but it could have been. Well, that was the whole deal. Like kind of going into nursing, I was like, or I could go into pharmacy, or I could be a pharmacy tech. Pharmacy techs actually do the work.
Yeah.
The pharmacist takes the credit.
But it wasn't necessarily something you want to do with your future. You're just doing a job.
Right. You know, but it's something I could have done for money and been fine.
Right. And she wasn't having it.
She was like, dude, you got to follow your thing. You got to be you. Like, you know, parents do that thing of like, find yourself. And you go, well, I'm right here. I found myself. And
right.
That's not you, though. So anyway, I go and I say, well, okay. I meet this guy, and this guy's like, you know, basically I used to joke around the office.
But eventually you went to community college, and you're writing.
I go to community college, and I'm writing on the school paper because that was more fun, and I enjoy writing.
And your mom was happy?
No. She's like, you're doing some more stuff. And we weren't talking. This is after I got put out, so we're not really communicating.
Right.
You know, what I do, I do. And
right.
She doesn't care. I mean, she probably cares, but I wasn't trying to.
You came back around, though.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But, no. So I go, and I joke around in the office.
Right.
I joke around a lot in the office of the newspaper. Yeah. And this guy goes, you know, I'm thinking of going to this comedy club downtown. But it might be better off if, like, we're partners. You want to partner up? Yeah. And I go, sure. Why not? You know, whatever. What the hell?
Try it.
And so then he starts setting rehearsal times, and he's got a schedule, like, let's get together and write. I'm like, dude, are you crazy? Suddenly this is school again.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Were you performing as a team?
No, this was the thing. I'm like, you get why I'm in community college, right?
Right.
Because this is a last ditch effort.
Yeah.
I didn't. This wasn't the plan.
Yeah.
So he was like, well, I really want to do this. I go, here's what we'll do then. Why don't you tell me some of the stuff that you want to do. And he goes through some jokes. Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Were you a comedy fan?
I was a big fan of comedy. And I say to this guy, I'll write these. I'll fix these jokes for you.
Yeah.
You just go up. I'll write. I'll do. You and I are going to work on your writing.
Right.
And but as a team, I don't know. So we go down, and it's a big splash. It's like open mic night. He gets up. People are like, "Wow, that guy was funny."
With your jokes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And some of it, with a derivative of his, I'll say, with a couple of his premises.
Yeah.
But then, my jokes. And then, and what we didn't know was the whole notion of like working out a set, working out a routine.
Right.
So we basically we did those jokes, and the next week we went back with all new jokes.
Right.
And then again, and then again, and again.
That must have impressed the open micers.
And there you go.
Yeah.
They're not so much the open micers, but certainly the club owners,
right.
you know. So they were like, "Jeez, this guy," about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you start doing it on your own?
I guess about maybe 2 years after, and it was really a matter. The deal was they didn't know who I was.
Sure.
They didn't know I was writing this stuff, and And then one day, and
so you started out a writer.
I started out a writer.
Yeah.
Exactly. But, yeah.
Yeah.
As far as, I started out,
well, you knew enough to know that.
I started out I was saving this guy. He's like, you embarrass us.
But it's interesting though, that you were approaching jokes. You know, you had a sense of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And a sense of how to act on stage.
Right.
But then the thing is how I started out helping other people.
Right.
Because after a while, you know, like after the show, and you sit around and you're talking, and people would come over, and I would start helping other people in the club. Like, you should do this. You know that thing you do with the thing?
Yeah.
Why don't you could? And so they're like, this guy's funny.
Right.
And then it becomes this thing where, like, we kind of went out. We would always like hang out after the show.
Right.
It was always like, we're the comedians
Sure,
in Baltimore. And they started to get it. They started to go, one-on-one, when you're with the two of them, this is the funny guy.
Right.
This guy is not so fast or funny.
Right.
You know, and they were like, okay, so you're writing his stuff.
Right.
Oh, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
And so then there was this, why don't you go up? What's the deal? Like, we're hanging out with you, you're funny, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know. And then finally I make this pact that go, like, there was this one guy who used to come.
Yeah.
The guy who actually, the guy who got me, he's a drug dealer. And he used to come, and this was like a weird thing. Like, I didn't know he was a drug dealer.
Yeah.
But the deal was he would come, and then he would disappear.
Right.
Come to open mic night, disappear. Weeks. And then come back. And be in the same place.
Yeah.
Like, you think if you went away, you thought about something.
Right.
You came back, you're much better. So.
Was he doing comedy?
Yeah, he'd do comedy. He'd get on stage and just be like, what is this guy doing? And then I said, if that guy ever comes back, the day that guy comes back, I'll get on stage. Because I can't stand to see the audience tortured by that.
Right.
And he comes back.
Yeah.
And I went up, the arrogance. I went up with so much. Because of everything I just told you. Because in my head, I'm like, I'm writing jokes for that guy. I'm writing jokes for this guy. It's like, I'm constantly coming up with tags and punchlines. I got to write. I'm going to write 5 minutes. You know what? I'm going to get up there and do 5 minutes.
Right.
You clowns.
Yeah.
I'll show you.
Right.
It's a whole nother thing, you know?
Yeah.
I got on stage like, oh. It's just a different world up here. Looking out at the people, looking back at you with the expectation in their eyes. And I mumbled through some stuff. I got nothing. I got no love.
Yeah.
And I tried, I attacked some people. I mean, I call it attacked. I tried to talk to some people in the crowd. My heart is pounding, and it was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful.
And what happens when you get off?
And so I get off, and I was like, what? That is awful.
Yeah.
That is the worst thing ever.
I got to go on next week.
Well, this is my thing. Yeah. And that voice in my head thing is then I get forensic with it. I got to figure out all the variables. That doesn't make sense to me. I shouldn't have. Like all that other stuff I thought before about how I write for everybody else and I do this and that. So that shouldn't have happened.
Right.
So what happened? Like, well, okay, I wasn't prepared, obviously, so I got to prepare. But then all of those things, for me to suss out all the variables, I got to keep going back up.
Right. You got to master this thing. You got to fix it.
Exactly.
Got to save face.
Right. And then I had a girlfriend at the time who was like 100% behind, who was actually in the Army. She was like, that was my military connection. She was like, you're going to just not do it again? I go, I think maybe that's best for me to not do it again. She's like, I don't know you. I don't know that guy. Yeah. And I said, yeah, you're right. I'm going to do it again. I got to do it. I got to kill it. So yeah. And then I had a whole conversation with Andre where I go, look, here's what we got to do. Because I'm going to keep writing for you. Yeah. But obviously, we got to differentiate. So let's make a decision. Like he's very political. He's like, you like the political stuff. I'm going to write that. I'm going to write these jokes for you. Yeah. And then I'm going to write the more lighthearted family junk. Yeah. For me, but it's all in the name of laughs. Yeah. And he said, yeah, cool, for like a couple weeks. And then he got to the point where he said, you know what? I think I got it. Yeah. I can write my own jokes. Yeah. And then that freed me. Now the only thing that I did make sure of was like to never step on his toes. Like if he got up with some premise, I go, okay, well, I'll leave that alone. But But
so now you're doing it.
Yeah, now I'm doing it. And now, without that anchor, without being constrained with like working for everybody else, suddenly I'm emceeing in a few months. I'm emceeing. Yeah. Then I do a commercial. Like there's this local commercial. These people come by and they see us. Yeah. And they hired me and a couple other guys from the club, and we do these commercials. And then and now I'm known. Like people, I will go around, I walk around Baltimore, and people like I had made up. It's for a car dealership. Yeah. And I had made up the Reverend Mitsubishi. Yeah. So people were like, "Oh, he's still Reverend Mitsubishi. That's that guy," And it's great in the city. It's just like being a local sportscaster. Sure, you're great in your city. Yeah, you step 20 miles out, nobody knows who you are. Nobody cares. Yeah. So I started doing that, and then I started getting bookings. Didn't even have a phone. I had people to book me. People called Dan Rose. Yeah, because they were like, Dan had a phone. The way I was working, the way I had budgeted my money, I was like, I don't need to pay a phone. Yeah. Who am I know everybody I know. I just go see them. Yeah. So
you did shit to kind of hold yourself back on some level.
Still, from the beginning.
You make it harder for yourself.
I'm making it harder for myself, and that's the thing where I'm at now. Like I'm still doing that. Yeah. Or I started doing it again. Right. And now I got to stop. Right. Because now I make it all about my kid, and I'm like, you know what? That kid doesn't deserve to have me go, yeah, you know what? I turned my back on comedy because you need me too much. Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? I got to be home and take care of you. Yeah. Whereas there'd be people who go, what a hero. And I'm like, no, not really.
What's his issue?
What a coward. They don't. He's undiagnosed is the most true thing. But, but it's like clearly like cerebral palsy, and he's nonverbal. Yeah. He's not mobile. He's not. His limbs don't obey his commands. There's a host of things to deal with. Right. He's also, in my estimation, very smart, very clever. And the thing I realize about kids, if there's anything about them, they absolutely kind of come. If you're paying attention to them, they're here to help you. I think. I really feel that way. Yeah. I feel like, and with both of them, I said this to a friend of mine. I said, you know what? I realized there's nothing I say to my kids. There's not one piece of, and I'm talking about a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, but there's not one piece of advice that I say to them that is not absolutely intended for me. Absolutely. Yeah. You some circumstances change, but you go, look, who cares what the other kids in your class think about you? Yeah. What's important is how you feel and what you do. And then you can have that argument with them and then look at yourself in the mirror and go, well, really? Yeah. you want to tell yourself that right now?
You're still telling yourself that.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, but they make it more concise. They make it more clear. And then this is the deal with my son and the fear and all the stuff that we talked about. There's this stuff that my son can do. Yeah. That he doesn't do. Because he's a 10-year-old boy in a wheelchair that people have affection for. Right. And so, as I'm constantly saying to him, dude, you have to stop relying on that. Yeah. Because there's going to be a point where, and he goes to the school where they have 30% of the kids with special needs. Everything, all along the spectrum of special needs, and not to say spectrum because that leans to
all different kinds
autism,
of special needs. Yeah.
But everything. And this is what puts me in a place where I'm like, I guess, any other parent, you want your kid you want to say to your kid, you understand how lucky you are? You understand what a great opportunity this is? Yeah. And in a way, my kids, I totally get it, which is why I don't talk, which is why I make sure, he does this, he'll start crying and kicking. And I'll go, here's the deal. And I've been doing this for 4 years now. Like, what do you need? In Chinese, yes is hi. Mm-hmm. You can say hi, So instead of you trying to wrap your mouth around the word yes. Here's the deal. When you want something, if I ask you something and the answer is affirmative, if the answer is yes, say hi.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you get it?
And I'm going to write down all these things. Like, I'll educate your teachers. It's going to be your language.
Right.
You know? This is going to be Zave's language.
Based on what
Based on what you can do.
Right.
Based on me seeing what you can do. Did he get it? I think he absolutely gets it. Does he do it? No. Dude, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to scream and cry.
Yeah.
And you are going to figure it out like everybody else. I mean, that's what infants do. Like, this is what I say to him. I go, that's what infants do. They cry. The parents pick them up and they say, what's wrong? Are you hungry?
Yeah.
You got to go to the bathroom. You need to be burned. And they figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then the kid gets satisfied. And then they get what they get out of that is like, yeah, okay, you care about me. You hung out, you figured it out.
Yeah, and I didn't have to jump through any hoops.
Exactly.
Or try to do something.
And this is and so we have that conversation constantly. But at the school, they do have to jump through that hoop.
Yeah.
If he's in class and he starts screaming, well, the teacher's got to figure it out. And then sometimes she just says there's an aide, and he goes, take him to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I talk to the aides, and I'll go, what happened? And they'll go, well, like, he started screaming. And I said, it sounds like if they describe the day, they describe what was going on, especially if they were doing math.
Yeah.
And I'll say, so what happened? So you took him out? And they'll say, yeah, well, so we left to go to the bathroom, and then he stopped. And I go, let me ask you this. Did he stop the minute you walked out of the class, or did he stop when you got to the bathroom? And they'll go, oh, yeah, you know, he actually stopped like as soon as we walked out of the class. Yeah. And then I'll say, and he didn't go to the bathroom, right? And I go, yeah, no, he just kind of sat.
Yeah.
He sat, and then I got him up. And then we went back to the class, and he started screaming again. And I go, dude.
He doesn't want to do math.
Doesn't want, yeah, exactly. He doesn't want to do math, and then you do this thing, you go to this infantile behavior because you know there's going to be more, you're going to get more credit for that. There's going to be more sympathy. And then I want to go, and I don't want to go, I say to him, I go, look, that sympathy goes away. Trust me, when you're the 15-year-old screaming like a baby in the corner, people are going to, can somebody please shut that kid up? You know, it's
You're telling him this.
I'm telling him this all the time. I'm telling him all the time.
So this is the struggle.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
This is the beautiful struggle.
Uh-huh.
And at the same time, like I'm saying to you, I have these long conversations with him, and then I go and look in the mirror and go, really, dude? Really?
Yeah.
You just had that? You're sitting here crying and screaming, oh, I'm writing for everybody else. I need to get myself together and back on stage. Everything you say to him.
So you're trying. This is something that's eating at you every day.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I can't say eating at me, but it's in my head. It's present.
Right. So let's go back. So you do comedy. Eventually, you moved to New York, where I met you.
Yeah.
And you're doing those shows that I did, the Caroline's Comedy Hour, the Evening at the Improv. We're all getting those first breaks.
Yeah.
So your first job was you go to SNL, the writing job?
First writing job was SNL.
But how long were you in comedy then? Like 6, 7 years?
Maybe 6. Well, I'll tell you this. Yeah, because I remember this. There was a show at SNL. I remember there's a Michael Jordan and Public Enemy. That was the year that was my 10-year reunion, 10-year high school reunion. And I thought it out, and I was like, okay, so I graduated at 17. I started comedy at 22.
Yeah.
So I'm 27 now. So
5 years.
5 years from when I started.
You're working at SNL.
I'm working at SNL.
So now at that point though, were you like, this comedy life looks, why not take that gig?
The deal with the SNL thing was I miscalculated.
Yeah.
I basically, I'm from Baltimore. I'm used to going up and down 95 to do my gigs. Every once in a while I go west. Never came as far as out here.
Doing the Jersey shit, Boston shit.
I did the Jersey. I did Boston.
Philly shit.
I did the Philly shit, but I didn't do Boston shit until I moved to New York.
Right.
I was doing a little Chillicothe, Ohio.
Yeah.
Prestonsburg, Kentucky. I had gotten to the point where I was headlining.
Yeah.
And then I got to the point where I realized the only thing I like about headlining was every once in a while a nice small crowd to talk to. Can I say like one quick story?
Yeah.
Like the one time I realized this is what I love to do, but this is what I love to do with these people. Me and Patton.
Yeah.
In Alaska.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if it was Juneau or some one of those towns in one of the cities, and we do our show. I think we were there for a week, and we it was fine. A week was fine. Last show.
Yeah.
6 people.
Yeah. Best show of the week.
2 couples.
Yeah.
Well, for me.
Yeah.
Patton was like, I don't know what the hell this is. And 6 black people.
Right.
6 black people of Alaska.
Uh-huh.
And they come to this show. And Patton goes up and he does his thing. He does his Patton thing, and he's fine. And they're very respectful of him. But, it's like Patton's like, if I was a superhero, juice would come out of my fingers and stuff. But they just go
early Patton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he comes, he sits down, he goes, man, I don't know what to tell you. Good luck. And I get up there and I start talking to them.
Yeah.
And I asked the guy, it was 2 couples and then 2, and I said, you guys, like when you came in and you noticed that the crowd wasn't filling up around you, did you think for a second, maybe we shouldn't stay?
I always wondered that.
And this guy said, well, this was the last night.
Yeah.
He said, well, we had made this plan to come here and we came to see you. I was like, but now the pressure's on. And like everything I was just talking to you about, like I'm responsible for these people. This is a community thing.
Yeah.
These people live all the way in Alaska. I have no idea what their life is like.
Yeah.
But there's 6 black people who came to see me. And then these people start coming in and being loud. And the deal was there was some wedding at another hotel across the street.
Yeah.
And it was so crowded over there that they decided to come over here.
Right.
And this doesn't look like a comedy show. This looks like one guy on stage talking to his friends.
Yeah.
So then I got to deal with them.
Right.
But then I start talking about them to these people. I'm like, well, see, now if that was us, they were all like, oh, these loud black people. And they start laughing. And I think I did like half act, half conversation.
Yeah.
With those people. And I was like, this is
where it's
good.
at. Yeah.
This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And this was years after I couldn't figure out what the hell with SNL. So SNL was, money-wise, I was like, where's my money going? New York is expensive as hell.
Yeah.
And it just got to that point. I was like, where the hell is my money? I'm very good with my money.
Yeah.
And it's leaving. It's going too fast. And I think at the point I was doing SNL, I was doing, I had Catch. I was emceeing a Catch on Sunday night and Tuesday night.
Catch Rising Star.
Yes.
This is like early 90s, yeah.
Early 90s, the Louis Ferranda years.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I was still working around, and I didn't understand what the hell was up with the money. And I realized, I'm driving twice. Like if I got the gig that I used to have every year in North Carolina, I used to drive from Baltimore to North Carolina.
Right, so now you're flying.
No, I'm still driving, but I'm driving down. First, I'm doing the New Jersey Turnpike, and then I'm going over the bridge.
Yeah,
I'm paying these tolls. I'm spending more money eating food. New York, just coming through the damn tunnel is $5 to come in, and everything is $2 more than it is living in Baltimore. So everything is crazy.
So you're doing SNL.
Well, and that's why I did SNL.
Oh, okay.
I did SNL because I was like, this is a steady paycheck.
Who was the cast then?
The cast was Dana. Dana was kind of, it's not right to say in decline.
Yeah.
But Mike was definitely in ascendancy.
Yeah.
So it's Dana and Mike, and Phil Hartman, who was a stellar individual.
Who was Update?
Update was Nealon.
Yeah.
Kevin Nealon. What's his name? Dennis Miller just left. And then our boys, Rock and Sandler and Rob Schneider and Spade.
Yeah. Good cast.
Yeah, and Farley, who, was doing his thing already. But definitely a good group of people. And then the year after me, they hired Ellen Cleghorn, and Timmy was there.
Yeah.
And this was the thing, like between Tim and Chris and Ellen.
Yeah.
Probably the most, until now,
Yeah.
Yeah, they had kind of gone down the road of blackness.
Right.
But it was making me crazy sometimes, you know, because it was kind of, to me, I was like, this, what's happening here is, and Living Color is winning Emmys.
Yeah.
So Lauren hires Chris,
right,
who kind of came with an audience because people already knew Chris.
Right.
He didn't absolutely need SNL. So I got there, and like in that particular show I'm talking about with Chris and Ellen and Timmy, like the next week, we wrote this sketch because it was Michael Jordan, it was Public Enemy, musical guest. Spike Lee came on and did a guest thing on. Chris used to do the sketch Nat X, and then Jesse Jackson came on because that week 2 people died. Miles Davis died that week, and Dr. Seuss died.
Yeah.
And Al Franken had this is, and God bless him forever. Al Franken said, "Well, you know what we should do? We should get Jesse Jackson to come on and read an obituary. We'll write something for Dr. Seuss because of the rhyming."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Man, Jesse Jackson ain't gonna do that, man. Are you kidding?" He was on a plane. It's like just.
He did.
You send a plane for me. I guess his son played football in some college. He said, "Send a plane. I'm going to be here." So we did that show, and that show was so many different things for me. The best thing I remember was just sitting on a fire escape, just me and Chuck D, just talking, just shooting it,
right,
and talking about Miles Davis. And because Lauren had come to me. He had assigned me this. He was like, "Miles Davis just died. We'll write a little something." I'll write a little something. What are they going to say?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
How long is something before they go, "Bring the noise"? What are you talking about?
Right.
So Chuck I was like, "Why don't we just do a minute of silence or something like that for 20 seconds? So he did that. But then the next week, we wrote the sketch where like the opening monologue was Chris and Ellen and Tim. And I'm just going, okay, last week was probably the blackest Saturday Night Live, you know, with the 3 of us, plus Public Enemy, plus Michael Jordan, plus Jesse Jackson, plus Spike Lee. And then we wrote that, and then Lauren decided, like kind of at the last minute, "Nah, I don't want to do that." It's like, you know, his thing was he didn't want to serialize the show. Now, that's valid. I'm like, okay, I get that. You don't want it to be like,
right,
if you watch that show and you go, "Oh, I wonder what last week was." You
right.
know? But then a part of me goes, that's actually selling. Now people have to go figure out what last week was. But that place, and I call it that place, was not, to me, is like, this place is not really conducive to just being creative and funny. It's very conducive to being competitive. Yeah. And I didn't come here for that. Right. And then, you know, when I think back on it, it was kind of being competitive. Like, so in the end, I go to Lauren, I think at the end of my second year, I go, I'm writing this stuff, and I love Chris. I love Chris, I love Timmy. But honestly, I don't think either one of them knows where I'm coming from sometimes with the things I write. Mm-hmm. And he, I don't know if he acknowledged that or not. He just listened. I gotten fed up with, I wrote this thing for Tim because I felt like he was underserved, underutilized.
Tim Meadows.
And I said, it was Ali's, I don't know, his 50th, 60th birthday. And I wrote this thing where it started out, I wrote a whole like slow roll until he got to a peak. And basically at the peak, it was like him calling himself the greatest feature player of all time. He was like, "I'm the greatest of all time. Yeah. I don't care about no Chris Rock. I don't care about it." Just in everybody's face. "I'm Tim Meadows. Yeah. I came here." And at the read through, people loved it. Yeah. And then I felt like the closer we got to air. Yeah. Dude, it just got less and less appealing. And not like the words of it, but the commitment. Tim's commitment seemed to be like even to the point Jim Downey said, "I don't know what's going to happen with that piece." Yeah. Because Timmy, He was like, I don't, Timmy's run through, his read through performance of that piece was amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, look at Tim.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
Huh. And it didn't go?
And it didn't go. And I was like, okay, I could have done. So I go to Lauren and I go, I'm not, I know you got your thing. I don't want to be, clearly I'm not saying make me a member of the cast. Right. You got to earn that. And I'm not even saying make me a feature player.
Right.
So, but just from time to time, I got to write something that I know I can do.
Right.
And I agree. But Jim has a real issue if I take the writers, when I make writers feature players or performers on the show. He says to me, he says, yeah. So, I don't want to upset Jim. I love him. And there's this whole thing about it. He blames it all on Jim Downey.
Right.
Go, okay, cool. And I go to leave. Now I had two, there are cliques there, and I can't pretend I didn't have my little crew.
Yeah.
But we're like the young Dave Mandel and Steve Corin were my boys.
Yeah.
And they asked what happened. They knew what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And they asked what happened, and I go, man, he blamed it all on Jim. And it's because then Lauren said, go talk to Jim.
Yeah.
If you talk to Jim, and Jim says it's okay, then you got it. So I leave, and I say to them, all right, I'm out. I'm out of here. And what did he say? He said, talk to Jim, but come on, man.
Yeah.
Then they convinced me.
Yeah.
I let them convince me that if you never talk to Jim, you'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
You got to talk to Jim.
Yeah.
And so I talk. So I wait to talk to Jim. And here's the thing. This was the crazy. I've heard it's gotten a million times better. But there's a dysfunction. There was a huge dysfunction there about time and people's work ethic. I used to get to work when I worked at SNL.
Yeah.
I used to get there at 10 o'clock because somebody told me those were the hours.
Right. 10 o'clock in the morning?
10 a.m.
Yeah.
So I left home every day, 10 a.m., get to SNL. We didn't start work till 6, 7 o'clock, 7 p.m., 6, 7
So what were you doing all day?
I was hanging out. I was talking to, and that was the other thing. It wasn't like I would ever say, I'll just leave and wait until somebody calls me. Because that's what would happen.
Right.
People would just not be there, and they'll say, hey, call me when this is real, basically. And so I hung out with the office staff. Those guys loved me. I had a good time with them.
Yeah.
And I think they didn't really get talked. There was a whole hierarchy there. And then it got crazy because then we start work at 7.
And you're tired?
Well, we're gonna go from 7 to 2 to work on these sketches. So around 11:30, 12, I'm getting drowsy.
Yeah.
I would doze off, and then there would be some of the writers go, Jesus, Warren, what do you, what's your issue? And that was it's Saturday Night Live. So the initial assumption is he's high, but it was people knew I was pretty straight.
Yeah.
So it's he's not high. It's just, what are you doing? You can't stay up. And oddly enough, one of the reasons I love Jim Downey, he knew. Jim was get this guy a break. He's been here since 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's how do you know? Since the whole reason we're starting at 7 is because you didn't get here until 7 o'clock.
Did you talk to him about that thing?
So I go talk to him. Yes. But the reason I brought that story up is because my meeting with Lauren was supposed to be at 9 p.m. I talked to Lauren maybe at 2 in the morning. So I walk out of Lauren's office, and then I'd say to Jim's assistant, I got to talk to Jim. Thinking I'll have this conversation, I guess, tomorrow. And she goes, he's still here. If you want to wait a half hour, you can talk to him now. Okay. Well, half an hour becomes 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I talked to Jim at 4. And this is the thing. Now I'm tired. This is this is some cult stuff. And I say, Jim, well, here's tell him the conversation I had with Lauren. And Lauren's, and Jim just starts laughing. He's like, what are you talking?
Yeah.
And Lauren said, what? He goes, do you know how many people Lauren puts on he said, okay. All right. Well, then here's the deal.
Yeah.
You go back to Lauren. I'll write it down. You want me to write it down for you? Go back to Lauren and you tell him that Jim's fine with it. and you can do whatever you please. I'd love it if you're on camera or not. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
And then I left Jim's office, and I looked at my boys, and I go, okay, now I'm out of here. Like, I've talked to Jim. It? Yeah, and I was like, I gotta go. And then the weird thing is, and I talked to Townsend to come by.
Robert
Townsend had come by, and he wanted to start this show out here. He was doing, and he kept calling it The Other Side of In Living Color, because at this point, he and Keenan had their big falling out. So, he asked me about SNL and what it was like and how things worked. And I told him about that sort of back and forth. And he goes, dude, I'm going to use you as talent and a writer. I'm giving you what you want on my show. So I said, good. Love it.
And that's where you went?
I moved out here. That was a time when Abby was like, what? No. Like, it was like, wait, you're going to leave SNL, which is an established juggernaut, to go to Fox, because that was a deal. It was a Fox show when this was a point where Fox didn't even have a full day's worth of programming.
Right.
To work with Robert Townsend, who, he had that Partners in Crime stuff, but, he was not a proven entity. And everybody was against it. And I was like, yeah, but I think, just creatively, this is going to work for me.
Got you out here.
Well, but that's this thing. That was like, I'm still in that place, like, I can write, but I'm a performer. That was always my thing. So Robert was feeling that he was hitting that note for me. But then what he would do is, like, he hired all these writers. Like, we had a nice little writer's room, and we'd turn in these sketches. And then we'd watch, the show was filmed, and we watched the show and then go, I don't recognize any of this. Did you write that?
Right.
No, I didn't. So sometimes you go, wait, I think this is my sketch because I wrote a sketch about a cafeteria. And here's a sketch that's in a restaurant. And I think that this is what became of my sketch. So Townsend did this thing where he would just rewrite everything.
Yeah.
Based on what he thought worked best in the sketch, and it was not working. Then the weird thing was, I get this call from Fox executives. They say, come in. I go over, and they go, what do you think is working about the show? And I said, it's a great, the writer's amazing. It's a good group. I think, whatever. I give them a whole long list of things that are working. And they say, what do you think is not working? I go, I think you guys got to talk to Robert. And sometimes he's maybe a little in his own head. He's doing a little too much. And they say, I'm sorry. The question was posed is, what do you think would make the show work better? And I give them this whole thing. Like, you got to do this. Number one thing, talk to Robert.
Yeah.
And they look at me and go, what else do you think would make the show work better? I go, oh, so you're not going to talk to Robert. Okay, I don't know. And they say, look, here's the thing. That show's not going to, we're getting rid of that show. But, and then I think back in these days for Fox, it was like they're a new franchise.
Yeah.
So just cachet-wise, I'm a guy who wrote a couple years on SNL. And I work for Fox now.
Yeah.
They don't want me leaving the Fox farm team.
Right.
And so, they're like, well, we know that you have friends on In Living Color.
Yeah.
I think some people over at Martin. We have this show called Living Single, so they throw those out at me. I couldn't resist. I'm like, did you just tell me the 3 black shows you have on your network?
Yeah.
Not take into account, I just came here from SNL.
Right.
Oh, no, of course. It became this whole thing like, oh, no, Married with Children would love you. We can set up a meeting. Sure. And I was, no, sorry, I get it. Just, you got to watch that. You know what I mean? And this is who I am. I mean, I shouldn't be talking like that, but that's where I was. So, I have my issues with those. I'm not trying to be part of a clique. So I'm like, well, I don't know anybody at Living Single. And of those shows, that one, even Married with Children, I'm like, there's a barrage of jokes. And the only new thing for me to learn is story and story structure. And this Living Single thing seems to be more along those lines. And I go over there, and this woman, Yvette Lee, at the time, Yvette Denise Lee, and she's Yvette Bowser. But we had our meeting, And I also like the fact, like, at this point, New York, the comic, not so much the club owners and all that stuff. I'm getting really fed up with the lies and all this nonsense in the business. And I talked to her, and she says, well, we started, like, we're on show number 6, and I used to have this guy here. Like, there's only one black male writer on the show. And so I said, honestly, are you hiring me? You're looking at me because I'm a funny guy, I'm a funny, talented guy who you think could fit in here? Or you're just talking to me because I'm another black guy and you need another black guy? And she goes, this town is full of funny, talented writers. I'm talking to you because you're another black guy.
Wow.
She said, but a funny, talented black guy.
Right.
And I said, I got nothing but respect for that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. You could have... Oh my God! I've asked that question before, and I've gotten, oh my God, no, we totally respect. And I'm like, just like my dad with the lies, like, yeah. So there, and that was the thing. Like I learned. She's big on story structure. It's just like, I might not always like the stories or where they went, but as far as like setting them up, taking things to a different place, I'm like, okay, this is sitcom story structure. I'm learning something. Yeah. And there would be days I felt like, I was there almost to the last season, but the only reason I wasn't there last season is because I sold my own show to NBC. So I was like, I gotta go because I got a show to do.
How many did they do?
How many
of your show?
How many did?
What was that called?
It was called Built to Last.
Yeah.
How hard is that? First show canceled.
Yeah.
They did, I think we did 8, but they aired maybe 3.
Yeah. And so that was the first, like, you're like, I'm in it. Fucking heartbreak.
Yes. Although, when it was canceled, honestly, the day that they called to say, we're done, you're canceled, I was on my way to New York. That I already knew that call was coming. Yeah. But I was leaving that day. I was only hanging around the offices. Right. Because I had to go to San Francisco to do my half-hour comedy. So I was like, maybe this is what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? I'm going to go do this half hour, and this is
you're
over.
Always doing stand-up.
Yeah. At that point, I still had my stand-up. So I did live in single almost until I got my own show, until I sold that show. Yeah. I created that show. It was for Royale Watkins. I don't know if you remember.
I remember him. Is he all right?
He's good. He's actually doing real good. He's got all kinds of stuff happening with Kevin Hart. He's doing real good. So, but I did his show, and then we got canceled. And part of the thing that made me crazy was like, okay, I got my own show on, but I wasn't a showrunner. Yeah. And so that was like, now that's the next thing. It's just like when I did comedy. It was like, okay, why didn't that work? Yeah. All right, now the variable is I got to be in charge of the vision. Right. So that I never really got the vision out with that. So now if I'm going to make this damn thing work, I got to be a showrunner. Yeah. All right. Then boom, what happens? Robert Townsend calls again because he had this show on Fox. Now it's called A Parent. He had a sitcom. Yeah. They need a showrunner. I talked to his partner. His partner and I had a better relationship. This woman who was like the partner in his company. Yeah. She's a genius. She wound up working at BET. Still a genius. Even though now we don't talk, but she's a genius.
What's her name?
Her name is Laretha Jones. Okay. And
this is for Parenthood?
Parenthood. So she's like, we need a showrunner. So I go over there. So now I got showrunner credentials. Okay. And then I go from there. And then Moesha was like, hey, we need a showrunner. Can you come over here to help? And there I helped the woman who created the show. Yeah. And I even said, well, there's a lady there who created the show. Why do you need a showrunner? And they said, well, it used to be her and she was a partner. Yeah. Her and her partner created the show. Right. And now her partner's leaving to work on another show. And she's never run a show by herself. Yeah. And I go, okay, all right, that's what you say. That. But then I do that, and then I see how the networks, how they undercut showrunners. I was like, oh, I basically kind of watched them try to not even try to, they devalued her.
By bringing you in.
Well, bringing me, and then that was a thing. Like, first I had to make it clear to her, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm honestly, if I can help, I'll help. Right. If you want me to shut up and get out of here and just make them happy because I'm here, I'll be that guy. Yeah. So she and then the staff felt the same way. Like, who was this clown?
Right.
And the staff was intimidating. My thing was, I know I'm funny. Like, there's episodes of Living Single where 80% of the jokes, that's me. Story wise, like I said, that's where I needed my help. At this place, there's funny people, they got good jokes, and they know story. And I mean, I'm like, dude, there's a woman who I worked with who was a Harvard MBA. She's writing jokes on Moesha.
Yeah.
And then a guy who has got 2 degrees. He's got an English degree from Stanford and journalism from Columbia. He's working at Moesha.
Yeah.
And at the point where they fired the showrunner, and I'm the showrunner, now I'm their boss.
Yeah.
And it was like a point where I'm like, what am I doing? I shouldn't be their boss. But then I was like, but you know what? They shouldn't be writing comedy. Fuck them. I'm better at the jokes. But, so then I got that. And then, if you talk to Moesha fans, I ruined the show. Mm-hmm. We don't have time for that. But then, I left. Moesha was coming back. As we were told, Moesha was coming back.
Yeah.
And my agents were like, dude, you're going to be in this position. You're going to do this and that and other thing. And I said, I can't do this. This is crazy. This show and these people, I like Brandy, and I liked her mom. Her mom was getting vilified in the press, but she was cool to me, and I got what she was up to. But I was like, I got it. I need something else. And then Larry had called me. Larry Wilmore had called. We had a mutual friend. Yeah. And she said, Larry would like to talk to you. We met in Pasadena. Yeah. And at a Hooters. Which that's totally Larry. So we met there, and he told me about Bernie. He told me what he liked about it and everything. And so I called my agent. I said, I'm going to do this Bernie Mac thing. And it was like SNL all over for them. They were having flashbacks. I guess. They were like, but Moesha's coming back. Right. For a full season. That Bernie Mac thing is an experiment, and Fox might not do it. And I was like, let's do the Bernie Mac thing. And then Moesha got canceled. I had already made the jump, which I think Larry appreciated. I had made the jump.
He was a showrunner?
Yeah, he was a showrunner and the creator, and that was the deal. It was like I had decided I'm going to be part of this thing before Moesha blew up. It was like it wasn't like, oh, I can't go back to Moesha, so hey, dude, can I have that job? It was like, I want this job instead of that job.
And now was working with Bernie good?
That was amazing. I feel like that was the best work I've ever done, and especially since part of my fed upness, and kind of even with Moesha, was like, okay, I learned sitcom story structure. Yeah. But I'm sick of it. I'm like, how does anybody at home who watches sitcoms for 2 years not know where these stories are going? And then Bernie was like, we don't know bulldozer. We don't know where these stories. Yeah. This is great. We can go anywhere as long as we go somewhere funny and somewhere that's emotionally satisfying. It's like when we get to the end, if you look back through it emotionally, wherever Bernie was, of course it went that way. Yeah. As opposed to like structure wise, where we set this up and he said this and that happened, and
he was driving it.
Oh, totally. And I loved that. And that was all. And Larry was like, yeah, no, we're going to do it this way.
He was amazing. So Bernie was amazing.
Bernie was amazing. Like the first 2 years of that show, that was like all amazement. And it was what I needed, because I got divorced on Moesha. Yeah. And then Bernie, and in the way I was living my life, like at Bernie, was like it brought me back to life. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then, and like I said, the first 2 years were amazing. It was the last 3 years, which honestly, the last 2 years is when I was running the show. Yeah. But paled in comparison.
You were there the whole time?
I was there from the pilot, no, but then from first episode to the last episode, I was there.
Were you tight with him?
Bernie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. And I love Bernie. I love Bernie. I know. I'm sorry. I did actually listen to John, because somebody told me John mentioned me. Like the people that the people that I feel the best about meeting in LA. John, when John and I were working together, John Ridley.
I love him.
Is I feel like, first of all, I have defended John so many times to so many people, and because I really feel like he's like my little brother, just age-wise, he's younger than us. But he's been so in your face about things. Yeah. And people are like, what's up with that fucking John Ridley? And I go, hold on a second. Hold on, man. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah. John's got a point. Yeah. We don't have to agree with him, right? But he's got a point, like he was not a big fan of going on strike. So all the people like, this fucking guy. Yeah. But,
him and Bernie were the guys?
John, Bernie, and Larry. Yeah. I mean, Larry, I felt like John was as close to a brother as I'm going to get. Larry was the best mentor ever. And still is, and I'm like, Larry's like that kind of guy. Like he's like that professor that I go, did you like that dissertation? Am I good? Is that anywhere close to what you were trying to teach me? Yeah. And he's also the kind of, Larry's definitely the kind of guy who does not suffer fools gladly. And I'm like, but I'm a fool. I'm kind of foolish. And Bernie, just for a guy from the church, Bernie actually reminds me of my Uncle Everett, although I doubt he's ever had any live grenades. But just full blown about life. That's it. The thing is, now I'm taking care of my kids. Yeah. We couldn't get into it, but I think you can get, some of my thing is like to be a good dad. Yeah. And so with my kids, I'm doing this whole thing like I'm family first. Yeah. I'm trying to be a good dad. And by my standards, not somebody else's fucking standards. Right. But this is what I decide a good dad is. And, but then there's those times when I go, I think I'm using that as an excuse. I can be a good dad and a creative person and be out here and show the world who I am, and maybe even get some respect, because my daughter could care less about me. But I love her so much. One story about my daughter, because Father's Day was just gone, and she's going to like this little summer camp / summer school thing, and so they got black cardboard, black construction paper. They splatter white paint on it. Yeah, it's going to be the stars. They put this paste a rocket ship, and then there's a little picture of her. Yeah. And then on the side, the teachers had written, I love you to the moon and back. Happy Father's Day. Yeah. So she does hers, love you to the moon and back. Happy Father's Day. And then she writes over in the corner, but not really. Right? And I say that. And she says, I wrote not really. Yeah. But it's like she doesn't want to be fake. And so she goes, I go to her and look at it. She says, I had to write not really. I said, because you don't really feel this way, right? I said, you don't know that expression, love you to the moon and back. She's like, yeah, I don't know. I said, well, here's the thing, though. Like, just tell me this. Yeah. Because I'm not my grandmother. I'm not beating her ass because she's not fitting in. Yeah. I'm me, and I want to learn who my kids are, and I want them to be who they are, and I'm just going to guide them when they need guidance. I said, how far do you love me? Just, it doesn't have to be to the moon and back. And we just came in the house, and she showed me the thing. And she goes, oh, okay. And she looks around, and she says, okay, maybe from here, from where we are in the foyer. And she walks to like the far end of the living room. Yeah. She looks out the window. She says, probably from over there where I was to like the back of that house. And I'm like, okay. And I'm saying,
that's something.
That's you doing you.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm like, that's what I got to allow myself to do. Right. This is like the moon and back. Every fucking body in the classroom said that.
Yeah, without even knowing what it means.
Exactly. But from this foyer to that house across the back of that house across the street, that's me and you, baby.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
So I'm all about that. And I got a couple projects that I'm working on, but it's like I'm feeling like I got to wrap that up, and then I got to start doing me again, because I can't just go away, even though I feel like I've gone away.
Well, I feel like you're back.
Thank you, Mark.
And it was nice talking to you, buddy.
Yeah, it's good talking to you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much.
There you go. That was Warren Hutcherson, a guy I started out with. Very funny guy. His life in show business and his life in life. The book, our book, Waiting for the Punch. It can be pre-ordered at WTFpod.com and at MarcMaronBook.com. I've been emailing all the people in the book about them getting the book. Obviously, I'm going to send them a book, but it's very nice that everybody's getting back to me. Makes me feel like people like me. All right, I'm just going to play some unprepared guitar with no effects. People seem to enjoy it, but I got to... The two guys that emailed. It's, it's just a Strat into the Dirty Old Man 58 Deluxe. Kind of cranked. Boomer lives.